Okay, hello. Welcome back to another Classic Comics live stream. Uh, I had skipped last week. I was down with a sore throat, cold, and just didn't want to push my voice too hard, unfortunately. Uh, okay, so plenty going on, and I still have some stories left over from last week that I wanted to talk about. So there's a lot for me to cover. Now, of course, the big story is the fires out in the LA area, and I will touch on that, and particularly how it's impacting the uh, city of Los Angeles and some of the historical significant sites in terms of film and TV that have been damaged and lost, unfortunately. And then we'll get into some other stuff. Now, a couple of these, as I say, are from last week. Like I hadn't talked about Jason Momoa getting cast as a Lobo yet, or let's see. And then there's James Brolin. He's teasing he's going to be Darkseid. And what else we got here? So some casting rumors involving Avengers Doomsday and some of the folks who will be maybe be in that movie. Let's just go ahead and get into the fires and just discuss that. All right. So this is from the Hollywood Reporter. Okay, let me bring that up here. There it is. Okay. Hold on a moment. Okay. Evacuation orders lifted in Hollywood Hills after Sunset Fire burns through 43 acres. Another fire broke out Wednesday night in Los Angeles, this time endangering the iconic landmark, the Hollywood Bowl. Named the Sunset Fire, flames broke out in Runyon Canyon in the Hollywood Hills at around 5:30 p.m. And I guess this would be January 9th, so 3 days ago. The spreading fire was close to Hollywood Boulevard and the Hollywood Walk of Fame. That's also in the vicinity of iconic Los Angeles locations and tourist destinations, including the Private Magicians Club, the Magic Castle, the Comedy Store, the TLC Chinese Theater, the El Capitan Theater, Madame Tussauds Wax Museum, Ovation Hollywood, don't know what that is, Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, and the Hollywood Bowl. So, really, just the heart of Los Angeles and heart of Hollywood in danger from this fire. Quote, due to the Sunset Fire, we have received evacuation orders and all Hollywood Bowl staff have been safely evacuated from the premises, the Hollywood Bowl wrote on X Wednesday evening. We extend our deepest gratitude to the firefighters who are working tirelessly to protect our community. Just before midnight, the Los Angeles Fire Department shared in an update that the majority of the evacuation zone for the Sunset Fire is lifted, with the exception of the north area north of Franklin Avenue from Camino Palmero Street to North Sierra Bonita Avenue. Quote, this area remains closed until tomorrow morning due to continued LAFD operations, ensuring no flare ups in the vegetation surrounding these streets. Officials continued in their update. Residents are asked to be cautious when returning to their homes because firefighters are continuing to work in their neighborhoods. An evacuation order was previously put into place Wednesday night around 6 p.m. for the area from Laurel Canyon Boulevard on the west to the 101 freeway on the east and Mulholland Drive on the north to Hollywood Boulevard on the south. Around 60 to 100 acres were reportedly burning as of 9 p.m. Firefighters were able to get the fire under control overnight after it burned through 43 acres. At 7:30 a.m. Thursday, the LA Fire Department lifted all evacuation orders for the area. Quote, we still have LAFD companies working in the area and ask you to be careful while returning to your homes, the LAFD reiterated to residents. Quote, fortunately, the Sunset Fire is under control, LAFD spokesperson Margaret Stewart said. on Thursday morning. One firefighter told the Los Angeles Times, quote, "It's a miracle that no homes burned here," while another noted the really nice houses in the area. Firefighters remained in the area to ensure that any vegetation in the area did not flare up. Several tourist locations announced their closure on social media due to the fires, including the Magic Castle, which appeared under threat from flames at one point, according to social media posts. Randy Pitchford wrote on X that the iconic spot was, quote, safe thanks to the heroic efforts by some Magic Castle heroes and the LAFD. Farther down Hollywood Boulevard is the Pantages Theater, while the Capitol Records building is located on Vine Street in Hollywood. Runyon Canyon is a popular hiking destination where it's not uncommon to see Hollywood stars. On a clear day, it offers sweeping views from Catalina Island to the Santa Monica Mountains. I'm guessing those views are not as scenic now as they used to be. Later Wednesday night at 8:52 p.m., another fire named the Sun Swept Fire broke out inside a Studio City home before spreading to nearby houses and brush. Shortly after 10 p.m., the Los Angeles Fire Department said they'd contained most of the blaze. The fires began in Pacific Palisades on Tuesday morning, forcing the evacuation of more than 30,000 residents and burning 15,800 acres so far. Firefighters are also currently battling 5 blazes, including the Eaton, Hearst, Lydia, and Woodley fires in various areas of Los Angeles County. 5 people are dead and more than 1,000 structures have been destroyed. The homes of numerous stars have been destroyed, including those of Billy Crystal, Paris Hilton, Mandy Moore, Eugene Levy, Eugene Levy, Anna Faris, Carrie Elways, Spencer Pratt, and Heidi Montag. James Woods, Diane Warren, Cameron Matheson, and Ricky Lake. Now James Wood, that's not right, because I don't know if y'all have seen it, but James Wood did get to return to the site of his home, and his home was not burnt down. I think there was some slight damage, but the house is still there. Um, Although I did hear, who was it? Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's house. He had a home up there that burnt down. It actually burnt down while he was on Joe Rogan, apparently. And I also heard, saw someone in I was watching a live stream about it, and there was someone in the comments who said that Mark Hamill's home had burnt as well. The National Weather Service Los Angeles posted an update on its X account around Wednesday night going into Thursday. Quote, critical fire weather will last through Friday for portions of LA and Ventura counties, including major wildfire locations such as the Palisades Fire, the Eaton Fire, and the Hearst Fire, it said. Gusty winds and very dry conditions will continue to fuel fire starts and existing fires. The Hollywood Bowl opened in 1929 and is among LA's top outdoor venues. Its iconic concentric arched bandshell has hosted such iconic artists as the Beatles, Julie Garland, Ella Fitzgerald, and more. Yeah, and I know I've seen that. I've seen this, in movies and also in cartoons. I think, particularly in Looney Tunes. I think Looney Tunes kind of the kind of opening screen for the Looney Tunes, it kind of had this kind of arched, concentric arches look to it. But yeah, a lot of destruction. A lot of destruction. Okay, Hail Guagnar. Hello, sir. Thank you for stopping by. Good to see you. Hope you are doing well. Thank you for being here. Let me take a drink of water right quick here. Okay. Now, the Associated Press has put out a list of some of the places that have been destroyed by the fires that are of significance as far as they've been in film and that sort of thing, and they're important landmarks. So I wanted to take a look at some of those. Okay, so again, this is Associated Press. The high school where Brian De Palma brought Stephen King's Carrie to life, Will Rogers Ranch House, and a motel owned by William Randolph Hearst are among some of the famous structures that have been damaged or destroyed by the California wildfires. Los Angeles is a town full of landmarks thanks to its co starring role in over a century of filmed entertainment. Some famed spots like the Hollywood Bowl, the Theater, and Dolby Theater, where the Oscars are held, initially seemed imperiled by the Hollywood's fire, yet remained at least largely unharmed Thursday. But the fires have taken a toll on some familiar sights. Okay, so Palisades Charter High School. There was significant damage to Palisades Charter High School, though the main campus building stands. Founded in 1961 and built for a reported $6 million, the high school currently serves some 3,000 students throughout the Los Angeles area, though they were not in session this week. Okay, famous credits. De Palma's 1976 adaptation of Carrie, starring Sissy Spacek, is perhaps Pali High's most recognizable credit. It also played the high school in the 2003 remake of Freaky Friday with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Curtis, the Kirsten Dunst movie Crazy Beautiful, the Anne Hathaway film Havoc, never heard of that one, the television series Teen Wolf, and American Vandal, and the music video for Olivia Rodrigo's Good For You. I don't know what that is. Notable alumni from the school include filmmaker J.J. Abrams, actors Jennifer Jason Leigh and Forrest Whitaker, musician will.i.am, Los Angeles Laker owner Jeannie Buss, and Golden State Warriors coach Steve Kerr. Will Rogers Ranch House. Now, this one's a real shame. So this is a property dating back to the 1920s and was completely destroyed in the Palisades fire. Built on 186 acres in the Pacific Palisades area overlooking the Pacific Ocean, it had 31 rooms, corrals, a stable, a riding ring, roping arena, polo field, golf course, and hiking trails. It was where the famed actor, once one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood and radio personality, would ride horses and practice roping before his death in 1935. His widow, Betty Rogers, gave the property to the state in 1944, and it became a historic state park. Famous credits: the state park was featured in the 1975 Barbra Streisand sequel Funny Lady. And of course, I mean, Will Rogers, like they say, he was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, kind of back in like the 20s and 30s. And yeah, I've seen some images of the ranch. I mean, it was really nice, and that's a real piece of old Hollywood that is gone. That's kind of sad. All right, Topanga Ranch Motel. The Palisades fire also destroyed the Topanga Ranch Motel, a 30-room bungalow-style motel built by William Randolph Hearst in 1929. The property had been uninhabited and deteriorating for nearly 20 years, but there were plans for a restoration and reopening in the works. Famous credits include the 1970s television series Mannix, as well as an episode of Remington Steele, the 1986 Judd Nelson and Ali Sheedy movie Blue City, and the 1991 Bridget Fonda movie Leather Jackets. Real in Malibu. This seafood shack on the Pacific Coast Highway and across the street from the Topanga Beach State Park opened in 1986 and burned to the ground in the fire. In an Instagram post, the owners wrote that they weren't sure what would remain of the beloved spot. Quote, hopefully the state parks will let us rebuild when the dust settles, Teddy and Andy Leonard wrote. Famous credits. It's been featured on shows like Man vs. Food and The Chew, and counted the likes of Cindy Crawford, Paris Hilton, and Jerry Seinfeld as fans of its fried seafood fare. It also made a cameo in 24. I guess that's the 24 series with, what's his name, Kiefer Sutherland, I guess. I don't know. The Bunny Museum. And apparently this is not related to Playboy. I thought maybe this was like something connected to the Playboy empire or something, but it's not. A quirky Los Angeles area oddity, the Bunny Museum, located in Altadena and dedicated to all things bunnies, was also destroyed. The museum had all sorts of bunny-themed items, from Trix cereal boxes and bottles of Nesquik, Bugs Bunny paraphernalia, and magazine covers of performer Bad Bunny. There's also a chamber of hop horrors detailing the historical abuse of bunnies that had an age requirement, 13 and up. Famous credits. It's made the Guinness Book of World Records and been featured in Ripley's Believe It or Not, the Smithsonian Magazine, and an episode of Visiting with Huell Hauser. Hack's Mansion. The 1915 Spanish colonial revival mansion that played Deborah Vance's Los Angeles home in the HBO series Hacks. I've never seen this show, so I'm not familiar with it. Was located in Altadena and fell victim to the Eaton fire. According to the trade publication Deadline, only the facade remains. Famous credits. It played the side mansion belonging to Gene Smart's character in Hacks. According to reports, it will be seen in the 4th season. Maybe the exterior. The Andrew McNally House. The Queen-style mansion in Altadena that dates back to 1887 and was commissioned for wealthy mapmaker Andrew McNally, so I guess that's of Rand McNally, was lost in the Eaton fire. Designed by architect Frederick Rohrig. The house had 9 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, 7 fireplaces, a distinctive bell-shaped turret that had a view of the San Gabriel Mountains and the Pacific Ocean, and a wraparound porch. It was adorned with hand-carved artwork, stained glass windows, and included an opulent Turkish room decorated with Moorish influences. The grounds also had an aviary. It was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 2007. Famous credits. It appeared in the 2001 movie Whoopi Goldberg and Jada Pinkett Smith movie Kingdom Come. Never saw that. And Charles S. Farnsworth Park. A picturesque 15-acre park with a playground, amphitheater, walking paths, and a baseball field was damaged in the Eaton fire. The Los Angeles County Parks Department wrote on Instagram that the Altadena Parks Davies Community Center, a stone building that dates back to 1934, was destroyed. Famous credits. The amphitheater directly next to the community center can be seen in American Pie 2 as the location of the band camp concert. Oh, okay. So this was the this is the famous band camp, is in that time at band camp. The park has also been used in the Apple Plus TV series Shrinking, whatever that is. Yeah, so I mean, some of this stuff, honestly, like the Bunny Mansion, I mean, I don't really care, but some of these, like the Will Rogers house, that's a real shame, and some of the other historic places, that's really too bad. Like I say, it's apparently some of these fires are just like they were menacing the heart of here. You see Hollywood, Hollywood street sign, and there are the fires up in the hills right there. It got frighteningly close. Okay. So speaking of Hollywood, obviously this is going to have an impact on Hollywood and the film industry. How much remains to be seen. I do think that, Hollywood, basically the film industry has been moving away from Hollywood in one form or another for years. There really isn't that much that is really actually being made in Hollywood anymore. It's mostly, there have been different places like Toronto has been like a hot spot for a long time. And a lot of stuff is made over in England now. But let's talk about what may be coming for Hollywood in 2025. Let me bring this up. Okay, so this is from Variety. Box office 2025 predictions. Can Jurassic World 4, Leonardo DiCaprio, and a new Superman help theaters return to glory? Survive till 25 has been the mantra of the movie theater business and the entire film industry ever since the pandemic related delays and Hollywood's labor strikes wreaked havoc on studio slates and production calendars. Several would-be 2024 blockbusters like Tom Cruise's eighth Mission Impossible and Marvel's Captain America Brave New World were pushed into this year instead, providing 2025 with a profusion of movies that everyone hopes will claw the box office back to something approaching its pre-COVID glory. Can Ethan Hunt, a smattering of Earth's mightiest heroes, and a new generation of dinosaurs come to the rescue? Will the star power of Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and Dwayne Johnson help boost their risky original movies to fame and fortune? Variety peers into its crystal ball to forecast the year's triumphs, misfires, and everything in between. All right, let me take another drink of water again. I've still got some congestion in my throat here, unfortunately. Hold on. Okay. Okay, so we've got the first section is sure things. And the first one on that list, Avatar Fire and Ash, which is coming out next December. 3 years ago, Avatar: The Way of Water grossed 2.3 billion and proved beyond a doubt that audiences remain insatiable for the sci-fi saga of Jake Sully and Neytiri, played by Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldana, on the alien moon of Pandora. Now, James Cameron returns with the third chapter, which, as the title implies, will introduce the Ash People clan of the Na'vi. Chill factor: maybe a 3-year gap is too short for Avatar movies. Verdict: never bet against Cameron. Disney will put another 2 billion in the bank. And they may be right. I was really surprised at how well the second Avatar did after that long, over a decade delay. And it was coming, just right on the heels of the pandemic. We were out of it, but the box office really hadn't fully recovered yet, it seemed. But this thing made a huge amount anyway, so I don't know. It seems like these Avatar movies are bulletproof. Honestly, I'm not really. I mean, I know they're well made, but I'm just not that crazy about them. All right, The Conjuring: Last Rites, which comes out next September. Across 8 films, the Conjuring universe has quickly risen to become the highest-grossing horror franchise in history. I didn't know that. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are back as ghost hunters for what's been billed as the final entry in the occult titled series. Other than a few low budget indie successes, 2024 was disappointing for movies about things that go bump in the night. Verdict: horror buffs will be summoned to Conjuring 4 like an exorcism on Halloween night, making for scary good profit margins. Wicked for Good, which comes out next November. Nothing is riskier than splitting a movie, a musical no less, in two, but Wicked Part 1 beat the odds to become a big screen smash. Fans won't be able to resist the journey back to Oz for the conclusion of the story of Elphaba and Glinda. Chill factor: the second act has showstoppers No Good Deed and cheer jerkers like For Good, but the best, catchiest songs are in the first film. Yeah, I'll take your word for it. I've never seen the show or the play or stage musical, and I've never seen the movie, and I never plan to. Verdict: like a seed dropped by a skybird, Wicked will go down as the biggest Broadway adaptation in box office history. Zootopia 2, which comes out next November, so that'll be directly competing with Wicked, I guess. Zootopia's police department's finest rejoined forces for a sequel to 2016's billion-dollar blockbuster. Chill factors: sequelitis can strike without warning. Just ask Joker, Folie à Deux, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, or The Marvels, all of which were disappointing follow-ups to box office behemoths. Verdict: Zootopia 2 will give Moana 2 and its record-breaking Thanksgiving debut a run for its money. Yeah, I think this one will do pretty well. Assuming that Disney continues to eschew, the wokeness. All right, safe bets. 28 years later. This comes out in June. Director Danny Boyle and screenwriter Alex Garland revisit the zombified United Kingdom of 2002's 28 Days Later, this time with Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer, and Ralph Fiennes running for their lives from the undead horns. Man, it seems like Aaron Taylor Johnson is everywhere lately. He's in everything. Chill factor: with The Walking Dead and The Last of Us gobbling up audiences on TV, zombie movies have been a bit, well, lifeless of late. Verdict: if the movie is even half as chilling as the utterly terrifying teaser trailer, then these zombies will scare up some tasty box office. Um, it'll probably do well. I don't know if it'll be a blockbuster. I don't know, maybe. The Fantastic Four First Steps, which comes out in July. And I swear, I don't know, why wouldn't you put Fantastic Four out on July 4th or around July 4th? What what day is July 4th? July 4th is a Friday. July 4th, 2025 is a Friday. Why are you not putting out on July 4th? Come on, Disney. Get your act together. I mean, how obvious is that? Okay, Marvel's first family finally joins the MCU with Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Eben Moss Bacharach as the titular superheroes living in a retro futuristic Earth of the 1960s, and pointedly separate from Marvel Studios' main timeline. Chill factor. The previous Fantastic Four movies from the 2000s and 2015 were less than inspiring, creatively and financially. Audiences could shrug at this attempt to make the new foursome into movie stars. Verdict: Marvel Studios' next two Avengers outings will build directly from the events in this film, so even more than most MCU fare, this one has to be a smash. Fortunately for Disney, it's box office clobbering time. Okay. Jurassic World Rebirth, which is released. Oh, well, that's why they're not releasing it on July 4th, because this comes out on July 2nd. Okay. But still, I mean, they're afraid to go up against a Marvel. Disney's afraid to put a Marvel movie up against another film. That's kind of telling, isn't it? Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, and Jonathan Bailey take the reins of the 32-year-old franchise, playing a teen tasked with retrieving material from dinosaurs that could be the key to a miracle cure. Gareth Edwards, who has fashioned a career helming handsomely mounted VFX movies like Godzilla and The Creator, directs. Chill factor. There is a chance that after three Jurassic World movies over the past 10 years, moviegoers may have grown sick of dinosaurs. Verdict: come on, audiences love dinosaurs, and this movie and its fresh, talented cast will rampage through the box office again. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm getting kind of tired of the Jurassic films myself. I will probably still wind up going and seeing this dumb thing. I'm gonna admit it, just for something to see, but I really don't care that much anymore. Michael, which releases in October. Music biopics are all the rage, and everyone on the planet knows Michael Jackson's deep catalog of hits. Plus, director Anton Fuqua cast Jackson's nephew, Jafar Jackson, to recreate the late king of pop's iconic performances. Chill factor. Jackson is a divisive cultural figure whose legacy has been tainted by multiple allegations that he sexually abused children for decades. The musician denied any wrongdoing. A 1993 lawsuit involving the singer was settled out of court, and in 2005, he was tried and acquitted on different claims. At the very least, Michael is guaranteed to spark conversation and scrutiny. Verdict: controversy surrounding Jackson's legacy won't matter to global audiences, and Michael will moonwalk to box office glory. Question marks. Good Fortune, which comes out in October. Keanu Reeves and the Keanu Reeves, the internet's boyfriend, plays a literal angel alongside Seth Rogen, Kiki Palmer, and Sandra Oh in the body swap comedy from Aziz Ansari in his feature directorial debut. Chill factor. Commercially successful R-rated comedies are almost as rare as the prospect of actually switching bodies with another person. Verdict: reviews will play a big part in how tickets are sold, but Good Fortune could get a needed boost in attention if Palmer delivers on what she does best, turning out meme-worthy moments on the press tour. Eh, I mean, if you're hoping that one of your stars will give good sound bites in the press tour to make your movie a success, I think that means you're probably not going to do too well. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. And honestly, the fact that this is a question mark is kind of surprising. I remember after Tom Cruise did, Maverick, and that came out and was a monster hit. Everyone was talking about how, Tom Cruise, he's the last movie star and he's the only one you can really bank on still and all that. And I kind of believe that too. And I thought that that was going to give him a lot of momentum going into that next Mission Impossible movie. And then that thing came out and it flopped. And I was really surprised. And I'm not even a big fan of the Mission Impossible franchise, honestly. I'm kind of ambivalent towards it. So, yeah, the fact that this is now sort of a question mark on whether it's going to be a hit or not is kind of surprising. So, what this comes out in May. Tom Cruise's death-defying stunts in his eighth go-round as the Impossible Mission Force's most valuable agent offers the kind of cinematic spectacle that demands to be seen on the biggest possible screen. Chill factor: Mission Impossible proved all the ways that cutting a movie in half can go wrong. In 2023, Dead Reckoning Part 1, what should have been a surefire hit after Top Gun Maverick, was crushed by Barbenheimer, leading the studio to rename the follow-up film. MI7 cost nearly $300 million, and these action adventures aren't getting any cheaper to produce. Verdict: Cruise's possible swan song as Ethan Hunt will pack cinemas in early summer, but Mission Impossible won't go out on a series high. The Smashing Machine, with no release date. Dwayne Johnson steps back into the ring, not as The Rock, but as mixed martial artist Mark Kerr in a biopic written and directed by indie auteur Benny Safdie, who did Uncut Gems. The 52-year-old Johnson, who also produced the film, is just 3 years younger than Kerr, so it's unclear whether ticket buyers will buy him as Kerr at his height in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Verdict: Johnson's career has desperately needed this kind of role, his first dramatic one since 2013's Pain and Gain, but the film's success hangs on whether the actor can still deliver a grounded, emotionally complex performance. I mean, has he ever? Really? I don't know. And Superman, release July 11th. James Gunn relaunches the Man of Steel in the DC Universe with David Cornsweet's Superman living for the first time in an Earth filled with other superheroes, not of all whom get along. Chill factor: comic book cinema isn't nearly as bulletproof as it used to be, and the last solo soups flick, 2013's Man of Steel, was a gentleman's triple. This film needs to be a home run. Yes, it does. Verdict: if Gunn can marry truth, justice, and the American way to the outre sensibility that made the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy a global sensation, then the DCU will be up, up, and away. Yeah, this movie, there may be no movie coming out this year, certainly not in the summer, that's going to have more writing on it than Superman, because there's an entire franchise, an entire cinematic universe writing on the success of this. And if this thing bombs, it's, I don't know. I don't know where DC goes from here, honestly. What my guess is going to happen is that this movie will come out and it'll be kind of like Man of Steel. It'll come out and it will do okay. I'm guessing, I'm going to go ahead and guess the box office winds up being somewhere in the realm of, let's say, 750 to 850. Or, no, make it 700 to 800, maybe somewhere in there. And it'll make enough money that Warner Brothers can declare it a success. But it's not going to make enough money that it's going to be a big hit. In fact, it may not even really be profitable. It might barely be. But it'll be profitable enough or successful enough that DC can declare victory, or Warner Brothers can declare victory, and then they'll just forge ahead with their cinematic unit. Basically, they'll do the same thing they did already with the Snyderverse. They'll just plow ahead with their big universe anyway, and they'll just, they'll skip all the build up and trying to introduce characters and get you to know them and all that, and they'll just plow straight into big team up movies and all this, and they'll follow it up with all these really expensive projects, most of which will not succeed, and then probably 6 or 7 years down the line they'll realize this isn't working, after they've lost $1 billion on these movies, and then they'll give up and Gunn will be dismissed, and then not long after that, they'll announce, "Hey, everybody, we're rebooting DC." Isn't that exciting? Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. F1, or okay, no, biggest risks. That's the next section. F1. This comes out in June. Brad Pitt teams with Top Gun Maverick director Joseph Kosinski and producer Jerry Bruckheimer to play a retired Formula One driver recruited to mentor a hotshot new star, Damson Idris. Chill factor. Apple's track record for expensive star driven theatrical releases is not a single profitable film, not one. Verdict. If Pitt, Kosinski, Bruckheimer, and the global popularity of Formula One aren't enough to give Apple its first win in theaters, then at least Tim Cook has iPhone 17 to look forward to. Yeah, I mean, I'll be surprised if this is a hit, honestly. Let's be honest, Brad Pitt just is not the box office draw he used to be. I mean, I think what was it? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did pretty well, but that was a Tarantino movie. And and that had DiCaprio in it too. So it wasn't like it was relying entirely on Brad Pitt to sell the movie. What was the last movie that really where Brad Pitt was the main draw or the main selling point that has really been a hit? Like that what was that Ad Astra or whatever it was. That thing was a flop. And I have a hard time remembering, aside from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I have a hard time remembering the last movie he was in that was really just a clear hit. Like Babylon. Remember that Babylon movie? What was that? 2 years ago or a year ago? That thing was a flop, and he was a big part of that. Him and Margot Robbie were both in that. Snow White, which releases in March. West Side Story star Rachel Zegler brings her killer pipes to the original Disney princess, with Wonder Woman star Gal Gadot playing against type as the evil queen. Chill factor. The $240 million budgeted adaptation has been dogged by expensive reshoots and calls for a boycott because of Zegler and Gadot's opposing stances on the Israel Hamas war, which maybe isn't the thing everyone wants to think about when going to see a Disney musical. Yeah. Verdict. After one too many revisits to the vault, families will tire of the Magic Kingdom's latest live action remake. Yeah. This thing has bomb written all over it. This thing is going to cost Disney a lot of money. Got to tell you, the spring, the early, like the first half of the year, the first half of 2025 is going to be brutal for Disney because they've got this, which is going to flop. Captain America is going to flop. Thunderbolt's probably going to flop. And that's all in the space of what, about 4 months? Oh, and then Tron Ares, another Disney film, releasing in October. And that's a weird thing, releasing Tron in October. I mean, that tells you, I don't know, either they don't have confidence in it or just that the schedule is really crowded because putting this out in October doesn't make a lot of sense. A couple of weeks before Halloween, it doesn't make any sense. The first two Tron movies were set almost exclusively inside the digital space known as the Grid, but this threequel from director Joaquin Roning, who did Maleficent, places Jared Leto's titular living program in the real world. Chill factor. Leto may be an Oscar winner, but he is not to date anything close to a box office draw, which Disney needs for a wildly sporadic sci-fi franchise that looks great but has never evidenced overwhelming audience demand for more. Verdict. Improving on the 410 million global gross of 2010's Tron Legacy will be as difficult as getting a perfect score in Pac-Man. Yeah. Um I honestly, like, Jared Leto's a good actor, but I continue to be surprised how they keep making him like the main character in all these movies. Because as they say in here, he's never been a guy that put butts in seats, really. Guagnar says, so far there's not been a single movie on this list that I'm interested in watching in the theater. There's a few. I do want to see Superman. I want to see Tron Ares too, actually. That's another one. There are some and that I'm not that excited by, but I'll go see them because, there's sort of the stuff I like, like the Marvel films. I do want to see Fantastic Four. I am kind of optimistic for that one. But Captain America and Thunderbolts, I think, are just not going to be all that good. But yeah, so Leto, I mean, he's never been a guy that put butts in seats and has never delivered hits. And, I mean, look at Morbius. And I'm just kind of baffled when they keep making him the star in these big tentpole, massively expensive tentpole movies. I don't know. It's their money. Okay, and then there's an untitled Paul Thomas Anderson film. Paul Thomas Anderson, who's created masterful works like Boogie Nights, Magnolia, and Phantom Thread, has recruited Leonardo DiCaprio, one of Hollywood's last remaining bankable stars, to lead the buzzy cast of Sean Penn, Regina Hall, and Alana Haim. Chill factor: the film's $140 million budget will require at least $300 million in global ticket sales to turn a profit theatrically. Anderson's highest grossing movie, 2007's There Will Be Blood, made $76 million. Verdict: the untitled project, reportedly a crime drama, will become a critical darling, but it won't be in the race for the Golden Globe for cinematic and box office achievement. In other words, it's not going to do well. And I had almost had considered, bringing up one of those graphics, that shows all the releases coming this year. But I had so much to cover. I think I'm going to push that back and maybe do that next week. Okay. All right. Now, staying with Hollywood. Now, here's another story. Speaking of Survive Till 25, where am I at? God, I'm at 42 minutes already. Okay. This is from the Los Angeles Times. For Hollywood crews, the mantra was survive till 25. So now what? 6 months ago, Heather Fink hit a wall. After more than 2 decades in the film industry, the NYU Film School grad had built a steady, if unpredictable, career as a freelance sound utility worker on film and TV sets while chasing her real dreams of writing and directing. But with the dual strikes by writers and actors bringing production to a halt, the work dried up, her bills piled up, and her anxiety spiraled. Quote, I was in such a terrible place, she says. I needed anything to pick me up and pay off my debt. I couldn't live that way anymore. In July, a friend reached out with a potential lifeline, a full-time position in the sound department on ABC's Grey's Anatomy, now in production on its 22nd season. Wow. Yeah, you remember the old days when, if a show made it like 5 years, that was like a pretty good run. And I mean, how many shows would ever make it beyond 7 years? I mean, back in the old days, and I'm talking like pre-90s probably, like the longest running show was Gunsmoke. That had gone like 20 years, and that was like a big outlier. Most other shows would maybe go, 5 to 7 years and be considered big hits. But nowadays, even shows with mediocre ratings will stay on for decades because they're just so desperate because they know if they cancel a show that people watch, odds are whatever they replace it with, people aren't going to watch it. They'll just go to watch something on streaming instead. I enthusiastically said yes, Fink says. I couldn't feel more grateful. When the Time first spoke with Fink in May, she was still reeling from the fallout of the work stoppages, like thousands of her fellow crew members. Now, as the industry struggles to regain its footing, we've checked back in with her and a few others from that earlier story to see how they're faring. Some, like Fink, have found a measure of stability, however tenuous. But for many below the line workers, the prolonged strikes and rising costs of living have forced difficult choices. Leaving LA, pivoting to new careers, or scraping by with freelance gigs and side hustles. To keep spirits up in a year marked by unrelenting uncertainty, many crew members have clung to the mantra, survive till 25. But with 2025 fast approaching, even those who stayed afloat are bracing for what comes next. Well, I think we all know what came next now, is a crap load of wildfires. Keith Dunkerley, a director of photography and camera operator, counts himself among the lucky ones. After working just 18 days during the first 5 months of the year, wow. Dunkerley, who supported his family during the strikes by tapping savings and taking handyman gigs on TaskRabbit, landed a full-time job as a B camera operator on the medical drama Dr. Odyssey. Don't know that show. I've been very lucky, unlike a lot of friends, Dunkerley told the Times via email. Quote, so many friends are still out of work or really slow. Fingers crossed it picks up next year. The challenges facing Hollywood's workforce predate the strikes. Streaming platforms squeezed by shrinking subscriber numbers. And actually, I did have a story about people dropping streaming services, but I dropped that one because, again, I had so much stuff to get to. So maybe that'll wait till next week as well. Had already pulled back on original programming while studios slashed budgets and job cuts or cut jobs. The strikes only deepen the slowdown. Film and TV production in LA remains 5% lower in the third quarter of 2024 than during the same period the previous year, according to the nonprofit Film LA. In October, Gavin Newsom proposed more than doubling the state's annual tax credit program in an effort to stem the outflow of productions to lower cost states or countries. But even if the measure is approved, the increase wouldn't take effect until mid 2025, leaving many LA based crew members wondering if help will arrive too late. Diego Mariscal, Dolly Grip with 25 plus years of experience, who has worked on The Mandalorian and Spider Man No Way Home, sees signs of a rebound. Full parking lots at studios, sound stages book solid, but the recovery is far from even. Quote, there's work out there, but it's not being spread around, Mariscal says. He considers himself fortunate to have stayed employed since the strike ended, but says that hiring has been concentrated among a shrinking pool of workers, rolling back gains in diversity and shutting out newcomers. Quote, coming off of the hashtag Me Too movement, people were specifically starting to make it a point to get women and people of color on their crew, Mariscal says. Quote, the doors were a little bit more cracked open earlier, and now they're slowly closing more and more. I think it's very subconscious. I don't think people mean to do it, but it's just going back to that people are starting to take care of their own. The scarcity of opportunities has created palpable tensions on set, Fink says. Quote, people are getting meaner. Full-time crew members tend to be kinder because they know how lucky they are, but the ones who aren't working as much, that's all they talk about. It's deeply depressing and it's dividing people. Mariscal, who also runs Crew Stories, a private Facebook group with more than 96,000 members, has witnessed firsthand how deeply the industry's contraction has affected its workers. Originally created in 2017 as a space for crew members to share funny anecdotes and positive news, the group has evolved through the pandemic and the strikes into an essential outlet and communal resources for those grappling with financial instability. This year, the pleas for help have been relentless, with Mariscal often juggling roles as investigative journalist, detective, and therapist. Quote, someone asked me to go to help with a GoFundMe to get their car out of an impound lot. An hour later, someone is like, I broke my back on a stunt and I don't know if I'll ever walk again and I need stem cell therapy and I want to start a GoFundMe. It's like, who do I help? In the end, it comes down to me. The emotional toll has rippled across the industry. Suicide among below the line workers is difficult to quantify and many believe it's underreported. Quote, I know people who ended themselves, Fink says. They didn't see hope. They didn't see a use for what they do anymore. You could ask around, and almost everyone knows someone. One thing you never hear about, even with the suicides, is the impact it has on the people closest to them, says Mariscal. And the despair goes deeper. Someone gets hurt and they develop a drinking problem and start lashing out or hitting their spouse. It's all very underreported. You only hear about it if you're on the inside of the industry. Those struggles are compounded by a growing divide between Hollywood's creative and working classes, a rift widened by productions moving overseas in pursuit of tax incentives and lower labor costs. Quote, I believe in the power of unions and I supported the strikes enthusiastically, Fink says, but on the other side of the strikes, we're in a terrible place. The working class put in their last the working class put their last good years on the line and now productions are moving overseas. The people we fought for aren't fighting to keep work here. Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. I remember when I was talking about those strikes in the summer of what I guess it was last year, right? Um, I think I said that, they're just I understand why the unions are doing this, but this is at best it's just going to kick the can down the road or delay things, but it's and slow things down maybe, but it's not going to stop what's happening. And I think that's kind of what you see here. Advancements in AI and virtual production are magnifying those anxieties. On projects like Disney's 2019 CG animated The Lion King and the studio's upcoming Snow White remake, Mariscal witnessed how digital environments replaced traditional sets, eliminating the need for entire crew departments. Quote, it was drastically different from what you could normally see on a film set, he says. They still needed the feeling of a human moving the camera around. I remember being like, I guess I made the cut. But there was no sound team, no makeup, no construction, just the bare bones of what it takes to make something. During the strikes, Mariscal considered leaving the industry altogether and explored the idea of starting a power washing business. Having bought a home in Eagle Rock at the bottom of the market in 2010, he feels fortunate for now, but knows stability could vanish in an instant. Quote, for now, I'm needed in that world, Mariscal says, but they're going to have an AI program that can mimic handheld shots, crane moves, every camera move ever made. When that happens, I'll be out of a job. It could happen in the blink of an eye. It may already be happening and I don't know about it. Yeah, yeah, that's probably right. Earlier this year, Fink had been ready to leave Los Angeles entirely, planning to return to New Jersey, run for local office, and use her creative skills to raise awareness about caregiving after her father's stroke. For now, her job on Grey's Anatomy, which runs through March, has given her a reprieve. Quote, I'll be covered for some time, she says, but I'm preparing myself for the unknown. None of this feels reliable. Not my job, not my department, not even the country. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. As Hollywood adjusts to its new reality, Think is holding on the best she can. Quote, I don't have time for my dream right now when I'm just trying to survive, Fink says. But I'm not giving up. It's just too much value in what we do. We just have to adapt. Hmm. Yeah, and I don't think obviously the wildfires are just kind of piling on top of that and are going to make it even worse. Excuse me just a moment. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to some of the casting news. So this is one that came out last week, and I wanted to talk about it at the time, but again, I was sick, so I didn't. This is from Deadline. Jason Momoa to play Lobo in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Jason Momoa, star of Warner Brothers and DC's Aquaman films, has been tapped to play Lobo in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, Deadline has confirmed. Momoa has been linked to the Lobo role since before James Gunn came in to lead DC alongside Peter Safran. He's been vocal in the past about his interest in the part, and today confirmed his attachment to the role in a post on Instagram where he screenshotted comments from a past interview. Quote, I collect comics and I don't do so much anymore, but he was always my favorite and I always wanted to play Lobo because I'm like, hello, it's the perfect role, said the actor. Momoa went on to say that should DC come around asking him to play Lobo, it would be a F yeah. Alongside the Instagram screenshot, Momoa posted a caption this morning that reads, they called. An anti-hero known for his violent and irreverent personality who hails from the planet Zarnia, Lobo possesses superhuman strength, regenerative abilities, and an invulnerability that makes him a formidable opponent. Created by writer Roger Sliffer and artist Keith Giffen, the character often is depicted as a bounty hunter who enjoys chaos and destruction. He was first introduced in Omega Men number 3 in June of 1983. Plot details for the new Supergirl are under wraps. As previously reported, House of the Dragon's Millie Alcock landed the title role after a long search, with Matthias Schoenaerts boarding as villain Krem of the Yellow Hill. More recently, Eve Ridley came on to play the part of Ruthie Mary Knoll. And this Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, it's one of these stories that is based off of a Tom King story arc. So I expect it to be awful, and I expect to hate it. Okay, Craig Gillespie will direct from a script by Anya Noguera. The project is based on Tom King's 2022 comic book series Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which Bilkis Evely illustrated. DC bosses Gunn and Safran will produce, with DC EVP Chantal Nong executive producing. Production kicks off January 13th. Of course, you wonder if under the circumstances that'll get pushed back. I don't know. Warner Brothers and DC naturally are high on Momoa, given that his recent pair of Aquaman films together grossed more than 1.5 billion worldwide. Upcoming, the actor also has Warner Brothers projects including a Minecraft movie, which releases April 14th, and the live-action animated Animal Friends from Legendary. Additionally, he'll be seen in Fast X Part 2. Oh, God. The Apple miniseries Chief of War, and Amazon MGM's The Wrecking Crew opposite Dave Bautista, among other projects. So, yeah, I mean, as Momoa says himself, this was an obvious casting choice. And I think a lot of people, like myself, when he was cast as Aquaman, were kind of like, well, shouldn't he be Lobo? That just seemed like the obvious role for him. So it's not surprising. And, when they announced, when Gunn took over, I don't remember if it was Gunn himself or other people at Warner Brothers, but they made statements along the lines of that they may have, Momoa may still be around and part of the DCU in some way. And obviously, this is what they meant. And it is a good casting choice. Like I say, I don't expect to like this Supergirl movie very much, but we'll see. Wagner says Momoa should have been cast as Lobo from the start and not Aquaman. Yes, I agree. I really would have liked to have seen, if it had been my choice, they would have gotten what's his name, Alexander Skarsgård, to play Aquaman. If it had been my choice. Okay, next. Wagner says, but why introduce Lobo and Supergirl? Take a chance and adapt his first miniseries. Um, yeah, I mean, you could do that, but I mean, here's the thing. Lobo is kind of like the embodiment of toxic masculinity. And I'm pretty sure they're just putting him in this Supergirl movie so that Supergirl can beat the crap out of him. They're not gonna highlight his character too much, I don't think. And as I've repeatedly predicted, I think that after the Supergirl and Superman movies, somewhere down the line, maybe in the Superman sequel, I guess, Supergirl's probably going to come to Earth. She's going to meet Kal-El, and then she's going to beat the crap out of him too. I've been predicting that from the minute they announced the Supergirl movie. I've been predicting that's going to happen. Okay. Now, this next story is from MovieWeb. It's Josh Brolin swapping MCU for DCU as another supervillain overlord. Josh Brolin, excuse me, Josh Brolin brought one of the most sympathetic and complex villains in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe to life on screen when he played Thanos in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. It seems Brolin could make lightning strike twice, as he's teased fans with a potential role in James Gunn's rebooted DCU. The DCU officially kicks off on the big screen with Superman in July. Gunn hasn't announced who the DC's big bad will be yet, or if there will even be one, but Brolin might have just revealed DC's trump card. Well, obviously it would be Darkseid. I mean, who else would it be? Although I think they said basically that this isn't going to be like the MCU where there's some big overarching story, like with MCU over its first three phases. All right, per DCU hype guy on Twitter, currently X, Josh Brolin recently shared a piece of DC fan art on his Instagram. The picture, drawn by renowned artist Boss Logic, depicts one of the most powerful villains in all of DC Comics, Darkseid. The caption under the original post read, quote, The rumor whispers going around is that Josh Brolin is still in talks for something big in the DCU. Josh and DC have the biggest opportunity to do the funniest thing, unquote. Brolin didn't write anything when he shared the art to his story, but the fact that he shared such a post with that caption is confirmation enough for some DC fans that the No Country for Old Men star is in talks to play the new god of apocalypse. In DC Comics lore, Darkseid is one of the strongest foes the Justice League has ever faced. Just as Thanos is obsessed with the Infinity Stones, Darkseid hunts the mother boxes in an attempt to solve the anti-life equation. Okay, well, the whole thing of the anti-life equation and the mother boxes being connected is just from that Justice League movie. That's not a thing in the comics. The anti-life equation, a mathematical formula that lets the person who solves it dominate the will of any sentient race. Like Thanos, Darkseid is a hulking mountain of muscle, but get ready for Marvel fans to lose their minds. He's much stronger than his Marvel counterpart. As well as being an expert fighter with immense strength and invulnerability, Darkseid also has Omega beams, lasers he shoots from his eyes that can bend and move to track their targets. In fact, Thanos was directly inspired by Darkseid. Yep, that is true. Darkseid is basically, or Thanos is basically a Darkseid knockoff, really. During an interview with Josh Horowitz for Happy, Sad, Confused, James Gunn confirmed that the new DC universe will have a big bad, per se. However, the goal of new movies won't be to build up their arrival like the early MCU did with Thanos. Quote, these are interconnected stories, but people are always going to be saying, who's the big bad? Are there big bads for connected films? Yes, he began, but this is all about, hey, I'm telling this one story about this big bad. Uh, If Darkseid does appear in the new DCU, it will most likely be in a big team up movie like Justice League. If and when that film finally happens, although considering Zack Snyder has already tried tackling Darkseid in the Snyder cut of Justice League, there is a chance that Gunn will look to import a different big bad from the comics. Brainiac, perhaps, or maybe even the Anti Monitor. Time will tell, so watch this space. Yeah, that would be interesting if it turned out he's playing the Anti Monitor. But Darkseid's just the obvious choice. And having Brolin play him, I mean, Brolin can do it, I'm sure. But it, I don't know. Would have preferred they were a little more clever with their casting, but maybe you think, well, just stick with what works. All right, hold on just a moment. Okay. All right. How much more do I want to do here? I'm at an hour, 3 minutes. Okay. Let me move on to a Marvel related story here. And this is from Screen Rant. Captain America Brave New World early box office tracking to top Valentine's Day weekend with $80 million debut. Early box office tracking for Captain America Brave New World indicates a debut domestic opening ranging between 81 to 107 million. This report from Box Office Theory also places the Marvel Cinematic Universe's total domestic haul at a range of 195 to 280 million. These numbers are fairly standard among previous Captain America films, with the notable exception of Captain America Civil War. According to Box Office Mojo, the first Captain America film opened at the lower end at 65 million, with Captain America the Winter Soldier debuting with a 95 million domestic opening weekend. Captain America Civil War broke this trend with a massive 179 million domestic opening, but it's worth noting that this installment in the franchise had the star power of the entire Avengers cast, as well as the first MCU appearances of Black Panther and Spider-Man. As such, Captain America Brave New World may not measure up to the heights of the Captain America franchise, but will probably be a median performer in terms of its domestic opening. Aside from its comparison to other MCU films, Captain America Brave New World is likely to outperform its primary competition for its opening weekend, Paddington in Peru. The latter film is projected to earn between 16 and 25 million during its first 3 days in theaters, meaning that the former will likely claim the top box office slot that weekend. Well, you would hope so. Captain America Brave New World's early box office numbers indicate that the film will have a modestly successful opening weekend. This latest MCU film will likely not reach the heights of Deadpool and Wolverine, which had an opening weekend of 211 million, but will likely land in the range of previous Captain America films. Moreover, it is projected to avoid underperforming during its debut weekend, as the Marvels did with its opening domestic gross of 46 million. However, another consideration is Captain America Brave New World's overall projected domestic gross. Captain America the First Avenger made 176 million, Captain America Winter Soldier made 259 million, while Captain America Civil War made 408 million, all domestically. It is unrealistic to expect Captain America Brave New World will do Captain America Civil War numbers, but otherwise the film is tracking to be on par with the rest of the franchise, which ain't going to be enough if the budget for this film is as big as it's believed to be. There's good and bad news with Captain America Brave New World's projections. The positive thing is that Anthony Mackie taking over as Captain America from Chris Evans doesn't appear to be negatively affecting the film's box office tracking. Alternatively, the film could still be a flop, as it has a reported budget of around 350 to 375 million. Whether or not this is a problem will depend on how Captain America Brave New World performs overseas, as the domestic haul is not projected to cover the production costs. Well, I know certainly the first Captain America film, First Avenger, was pretty much a flop overseas. Hardly anyone overseas saw it. Now, I don't know how Winter Soldier did. It probably did better, I'm sure, but I see no way this thing is going to be a box office success. And I don't think this thing will bomb overseas, but I don't think it's going to do all that great either. I mean, at best case scenarios, it probably does kind of like Captain America Winter Soldier numbers. And how much was that? 259 million. Let's just okay, we'll say 300 million. How about that? And then it makes, I don't know, maybe half that much overseas, so 450 million ish. I mean, that ain't going to cover that is not going to cover a 350 to 375 million dollar movie, and I'm sure those numbers are low. It's probably really higher than that. I mean, I've heard over 400 million in some stories or for some outlets. Okay, we're over an hour already, so I'm only going to do a couple more things. Yeah, I'll just do a few more, and they'll all be Marvel related here. Just about three more things. Okay, go to the next one. And this is from Cosmic Book News. Avengers Doomsday reveals cast through production listings. Okay, the cast of Avengers Doomsday may be revealed as a production listing has hit the net, revealing the actors and characters possibly in the film. It's possible the production listing could be wrong, so bear that in mind. Okay. According to the Avengers Doomsday production list, making up the cast includes Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, Eben Moss Baccarat, the Fantastic Four, Tom Holland, Elizabeth Olsen, Scarlet Witch. That's a little surprising. And then we've got the Thunderbolts actors: Sebastian Stan, Florence Pugh, Wyatt Russell, Dave Harbour, Hannah John Kamen, Olga Kurylenko. Then we've got Chris Evans and Anthony Mackie. Now, the question, of course, is who is Chris Evans going to be? Presumably, he's going to be Captain America, but is he going to be like a variant? Like a multiversal variant of Steve Rogers? That's my thought. That's what it'll be. And then we also have Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange and Haley Atwell, who will be playing that Captain Carter character, I guess. Worth a mention is the above list is basically all the actors either already confirmed or starring in the upcoming MCU movies, including Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts, Captain America: Brave New World, and Spider-Man 4. The production listing also includes the rumor of Ana de Armas, so it seems likely this isn't an official listing. Disney or Marvel wouldn't put Ana de Armas mentioned for a role in something official. The listing also says Avengers Doomsday starts filming in March in the UK and films until August. And then we got a sort of schedule here. So Captain America: Brave New World, February, Thunderbolts in May, Avengers or Fantastic Four, July 25th, Avengers Doomsday, May 1st, 2026, Spider-Man 4, July 2026, Avengers Secret Wars, May 7th, 2027. Yeah, I mean, Captain America: Brave New World and Thunderbolts are probably both gonna not do very well. Fantastic Four, it remains to be seen, but then Avengers Doomsday, Spider-Man 4, Avengers Secret Wars, those will probably all make a ton of money. And maybe I don't know if it'll be enough to make up for all the money these movies are going to lose, but they will do well probably. Okay, just a couple of other quick ones, right quick, and we'll wrap up. Speaking of Avengers Doomsday, this is from Game Rant. Rumor: Daredevil set to appear in Avengers Doomsday. The excitement surrounding Avengers Doomsday is already building due to all of the news that is being released about the movie. Even though the plot of the film and the full details are being kept scarce, the May 2026 release date for Avengers Doomsday cannot come fast enough for many fans of the MCU for what is expected to be another colossal blockbuster sensation. All right, hold on a moment again. I got a cough again here. Oh. And Guagnar says, "Too bad Spider-Man 4 isn't a Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire movie." Um, yeah, I think after No Way Home came out, there was some hope. I think that maybe they would maybe bring that franchise back, and do more with him, or at least do more with Andrew Garfield. But I don't think it's going to happen. Which I mean, with Tobey Maguire, and kind of see it. I mean, honestly, I think that he's probably getting a little too old. It's probably the time has passed, but Garfield could still be playing Spider-Man. He's still pretty. He's not that old yet. Okay, it has already been confirmed that Robert Downey Jr. is returning to the MCU, and he will be playing the character of Doctor Doom this time. Meanwhile, it has been reported that Chris Evans is also set to make a comeback in the MCU, potentially playing Nomad, which has already added two unexpected stars that people weren't initially expecting. Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange is also set to be involved, but now a new rumor is teasing that a slightly less familiar Marvel character will be turning up in the film. According to industry insider Daniel Richtman, Charlie Cox's Daredevil is set to appear in Avengers Doomsday. It's unclear what capacity he will be involved in, but it was revealed that the role is only expected to be a small one. Whether this comes in the form of the masked Daredevil character or the more sophisticated lawyer Matt Murdock remains to be seen. However, adding him to the movie will only increase the star power of what is expected to be a stacked cast. Cox has already played the character for 3 seasons in Netflix's Daredevil and The Defenders, although they were not part of the MCU. He officially entered that world by appearing in Spider Man No Way Home and again in She Hulk Attorney at Law and Echo. However, 2025 is going to be the year Daredevil truly breaks out in the MCU when Daredevil Born Again launches on Disney Plus. And yeah, those shows on Netflix were never part of the MCU, but boy, they sure did try to make you believe they were, didn't they? They sure fooled a lot of people. The upcoming MCU television series is expected to provide plenty of details about what this version of the character will be like, giving crucial background information so that people can connect with him and he can be linked to the wider MCU story. Whether the show will have a direct correlation to Avengers Doomsday remains to be seen, but if he's set to be involved in the upcoming Marvel film, it's likely that some seeds will be planted, as that's what Marvel Studios tends to do. Daredevil is going to have a much bigger role in the MCU moving forward, and if handled right, the character can have a lot of success. The popularity of the Netflix show proved that Daredevil is someone that audiences care about if the story is right and he's allowed to shine. And now Marvel Studios is getting their opportunity to do just that. While he might not be seen at the same levels of the likes of Thor, Hulk, or Spider Man, the only way to get the character to reach that point is to have him involved in major movies such as this. Plus, it will benefit Avengers Doomsday because Daredevil involved will create new character interactions, which should be exciting to see. Okay. And then I got one more, which is along similar lines. Oh, Wagner says, Nomad, is this the one that Cap became when he first gave up his shield, or will this be the Jackman Rowe version? I would assume he'll be playing the original Steve Rogers version of Nomad, which was in kind of the mid 70s. Basically, they did that storyline after the whole Watergate scandal and all that, where, it was one of these stories where Cap becomes disillusioned with the government and with America and kind of has to kind of do some soul searching. And yes, Jack Monroe did later take on the Nomad character for a while. Okay. And I got one more here and then we'll wrap it up. So this is from Superhero Hype. Rumor, Ioan Gruffudd to return as Reed Richards in Avengers 5 or 6. Marvel Studios is reportedly planning to feature um, Ioan Gruffudd, and I'm not sure I'm saying that entirely right. I know I remember hearing it spoken in like an interview or something like that. Ioan Griffith, but I'm not sure I'm getting it right. Um, he will play Reed Richards in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. This follows Pedro Pascal's confirmed role as the MCU's primary Reed Richards in Fantastic Four First Steps, expanding the multiverse storyline in upcoming films. Pedro Pascal is reportedly expected to play the primary Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four First Steps. Rumors suggest Griffiths, known for his role in Fantastic Four in 2005 and its sequel, may reprise his version in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. As per Alex Perez of the Cosmic Circus, there may be plans to include Griffiths' character as part of the multiverse storyline. The What If finale introduced the concept of the Watcher saving variants across different realities, hinting at appearances by alternate versions of characters like Reed Richards. John Krasinski previously portrayed a variant in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, though his character met a swift end. Griffith's rumored return may tie into the Battle World concept where multiversal characters converge. The Council of Reeds, an interdimensional organization composed of Reed Richards variants, may feature in upcoming films. In the comics, this group uses advanced technology to address multiverse level challenges, often requiring members to sacrifice their personal lives for the greater good. The council was originally founded by 3 Infinity Gauntlet wielding Reeds. Griffith expressed interest in returning to the Marvel Universe in a 2018 interview, saying, quote, "I would love that. Maybe I could play a baddie this time. Now that I've established myself as somebody who can do that, that would be great." He also noted that other actors like Chris Evans and Michael B. Jordan transitioned between Marvel roles successfully. These developments suggest Marvel's continued exploration of the multiverse, incorporating both new portrayals and familiar faces to expand its storytelling. So I would really like this. I'd be really happy to see him come back to the role. I thought he was an excellent choice to play Reed, and I thought he did a great job with the character. And I think now would be even better because now he's probably more age appropriate. He was actually a little bit young, probably about 10 years young to be playing the character. And so he'd probably be a little more, have a more appropriate look now. You know, they wouldn't have to fake the gray in his hair probably like they did back then. So I hope this actually happens, but we will see. All right. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. I feel like my throat's beginning to get a little raw here, so I don't want to push it too hard and make myself sick again. So I do want to thank everyone for watching the stream. If you would, please do like the stream if you haven't already. And if you would, please sub to the channel and check out some of my other videos while you're here. I will be doing my Trek Talk live stream Tuesday. I will be looking at the original Harlan Ellison's original version of The City on the Edge of Forever. I'll be looking at the IDW comic book miniseries that was published of it. And let's see. Yeah, so that I should be, that's assuming my voice holds out and I don't have voice problems again. But until then, everyone, have a good evening. And I hope everything is going well for you here in the early new year. And I'll see you all Tuesday night. Good night.